my dear Congressman Malinowski, Ambassador, distinguished guests, honored friends. In this week's Torah portion, Jacob is dying. And on his deathbed, he tells his sons that he is going to reveal how and when the Messiah will come. Come together, he says, and I will tell you what will happen to you in the end of days. And they all wait with bated breath to hear him reveal the future. And then, in a staggering anticlimax, he doesn't do it. All he does is give a different blessing to each of his sons. He explains to them their strengths and weaknesses and never mentions the end of days and the coming of the Messiah again. In Psachim in the Talmud, it says that Jacob wanted to reveal to his sons when the Ketz, the end of days, would come, but Nistalka mimeno hashchina, the divine presence, ran away from him. God abandoned him at that moment. God doesn't allow Jacob to tell him when the Messiah will come because there is a long tradition of warning against predicting the end of days. Derech Eretz says that anyone who calculates the end of days has no portion in the world to come. The Zohar says that every generation has its own ketz, its own date for redemption. Why? Because in Jewish thought, the Messiah, like so many of our aspects of our relationship with God, is something that we bring, not something that is imposed upon us. Jacob blessed his children, and that was his way of explaining the powers that each of them, each of us, have to bring light and redemption to this world. How and when do you bring the Messiah? How and when do you dispel darkness and bring more light into this world? When each of us uses our potential to its fullest. Think back to the story of the creation, to the dark existence of the very beginning. What was God's first act of creation on the very first day? Beulah? Right, create light. God says, let there be light, and there was light. The light that God creates at the very beginning divides time in the world between day and night. And we use that divide itself to define each of the following days of creation. What happens on the fourth day of creation? Sun and the moon. So where does the light come from? If light is created on the first day, and the sun is created on the fourth, where does the light come from? In Kabbalistic thought, it's called the Or Ganuz, the hidden light, reserved for only the truly righteous to see. And there are countless stories and versions of the shattered vessels of creation that hold this divine light. How lucky we are in New Jersey to have a senator who quotes Tikkun Olam to us. But the whole concept of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, ties us directly to repairing these vessels by doing good, by being good, by bringing light. In 100 years from now, what will remain from everything, everyone that sits now in this beautiful sanctuary? Hopefully this monument, this astonishingly beautiful monument, perhaps this building. As a Jew, we would say, hopefully the books. But what will definitely endure is the legacy of community, of love, and of light, if you commit to it. So let me tell you about Philip Larkin, the poet. Because whenever I read Philip Larkin's poems, I generally immediately regretted it. His bleak, pessimistic cynicism weaves through pretty much everything that he wrote. But there is this beautiful, surprising moment in his poem, The Arundel Tomb, that deals precisely with love and light and permanence. Larkin visits a medieval tomb in an old cathedral and sees the ancient grave of an earl and his countess. Their statues lying next to each other are holding hands. It's this striking moment, seeing centuries-old Lord and Lady holding hands. And at the end, this pessimistic cynic says, there is an almost instinct, almost true, that what will survive of us is love. What will survive of us is not our buildings, our magnificent institutions, important though they are. What will survive of us is love, our community, our relationships, the people that we care for. So, it is our task to bring back some of that light and love. And living in a community means committing and recommitting ourselves every day to bringing more light and love into the world. In Emerson's words, it's only when it's dark enough that you see the stars. When it feels like the worst of times, we commit and recommit to bringing more light into the world. So how do we do that? We deepen strong interfaith and neighborhood partnerships. We build up further our relations with our political leaders and coalitions. We continue to lobby and advocate for New Jersey and federal homeland security support, local and state police coordination, county prosecutors and Department of Justice collaboration to hunt down bigots and haters and prosecute them. We deepen our commitment to education, community building, and resilience programs. We strengthen our own Jewish community institutions' security presence and practices. And finally, we commit to proactive communal outreach, encouraging participation and engagement. There is always much more for us to do. Dr. Martin Luther King said that darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. Because we are, said Aristotle, social animals. We cannot live without each other. And that too is what Jacob said to his sons as they gathered together. Living together banishes that darkness. May we all live to see more light, more love, and more community. Shabbat Shalom.